So I think it'd be a good idea, Tammy, to have a conversation about these new things that are coming down the pike.
Well, we don't know a lot.
Well, I know we do. I'm not going to talk about DNA. I just want to talk about. I want to talk about how this evolves generally. And one of the things here that I want to make clear is Tammy just gave me a little lecture after the last one about don't do things that piss off people.
Right.
And
especially with the new DNAs coming up.
So the problem with all of this is that, you know, when you start saying things about some of the controversies that are out there, they're going to be different sides. It'd be like talking about Trump and Biden, which we're not going to talk about that.
No.
But the point here is that we try to give you the right information. We always give you information that we believe is right. That doesn't mean that it always is right. And those are people who get their hot under the collar on the things that we might say. I've got an answer to you. Defend yourself. Put it in the comments. Explain why we've got it wrong, and we will then research that, and we will then talk about it. And if we think you've got it wrong, we will say so. And if we think we've now got it wrong, we will absolutely admit to it and do another video to explain how we got the wrong information. And I can promise you, there's 1,000 of our videos on YouTube. They are not all 100% accurate, and and I don't know that which ones are not right. But another acknowledgement: we're not. Are you a vet?
No, and neither are you.
I'm not a vet either. So if you're taking our advice, remember it's free. Don't come back and sue us if you don't like the results, because we're not vets. We don't purport to be.
Look it up and Google it.
That's right. Always. Anything that Tam is saying or James is saying,
or call your vet.
If you don't think that sounds right, Google it. Ask other people. Get a second opinion, because there is plenty of crap information that you get from the internet, Facebook, and even vets, and people like me. All right. So now let's have the conversation about these new things that are happening. Things that have been around for a while: blue dogs, cocoa dogs, tan-pointed dogs. Because that's the beginning of all this stuff. And then we'll talk about fluffies and velvets and pinks and huskies and coys and hairless and all that in the French world. So, anytime any of these new dogs come up here, there will always be people who bellyache.
Oh yeah.
Scream and holler.
Yeah, because they don't know they don't know the information back.
The show ring. So this is another interesting thing. What's allowed in the show ring? What does the AKC allow in the show ring?
Fawns, black dogs, which are brindle dogs.
Not double A
cream dogs,
but cream dogs, and pied variations of those.
Yeah.
So that means that dogs that would not be in there would be tan-pointed dogs, blue dogs, cocoa dogs, fluffy dogs, merle dogs, velvets, big ropes. None of that stuff. If they get to the show ring and they get shown, they might get a round or two, but they'll get drummed out, because the people who are showing those dogs want no part of that. And furthermore, they think that we should be taken out behind the barn and shot for doing it. They do not like
even though it's all about that structure.
So that's one of their arguments.
And now let me tell you, on these other dogs, some of the structures are beautiful.
And some of them are awful.
And then some of them are awful.
But all the ones that you see at the AKC show ring, they are wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that get up there for the Purina Championship stuff, they are beautiful dogs. I don't care whether they're Whippets or Greyhounds or Frenchies or Salukis. They are absolutely top-notch dogs. The problem gets to be is these other things, the new things. It was originally blue dogs, I think, was the first things.
Yeah.
When people would say they have skin problems or they look terrible, and a lot of them did. Why? Probably because people were doing some mucking around with other breeds. Or line breeding. Line breeding is where or inbreeding, where you take daughters and breed them back to dads or granddads, or sons and breed them back to mothers or grandmothers. And you're doing that because you're trying to reinforce a particular thing. And when you do that, you can bring in health problems, you can bring in structural problems on some of the dogs. And because of that, it takes a while to get that structure sorted out. This is one of the things that Tammy and I are always saying: when you're buying a dog, what's the first thing you look at?
The structure.
It's structure. And it's structure because you cannot fix that easily, right?
Yeah. The conformation of the dog.
Structure. Yeah. You can't fix this. You can, but it takes a long time, generations to fix it. Color, you can get color in one generation.
Right. You look at the grandparents, the parents and the grandparents.
Yeah.
If you have background history for the grandparents, great, but look at those parents.
Every puppy that's produced gets 50% of its DNA from each of its parents, and it gets 25% of its DNA for each of the grandparents, and it gets 12.5% from each of its great-great-grandparents. So you can see how this goes down. So it's not all just because you've got a really beautiful puppy doesn't mean that it's guaranteed that it's going to produce beautiful puppies from here on out, because it's genetics. There's buried genetics in there, DNA, that comes from the parents that aren't being shown in what's called its phenotype, its physical look. But I kind of getting off subject here a little bit. I think the point here is that I wanted to make was, I'm not even sure what the point of this was. I think what we're supposed to be talking about here is these new variants that are coming around. And what I would say on this is, if you're interested in a velvet or a big robe,
and variance isn't used as a dirty word.
No, not at all.
The way you said it was, you have to be careful because people can get touchy about this.
Well, well, they think they're getting bashed on. Look, we get bashed on by people occasionally because people say you're not producing the standard colours, and we're not, and we defend it, and our defence is this.
Let me just say, the more generations down from on these that are getting started up,
the better they look.
They get better.
Absolutely.
They get better with time.
Absolutely.
With each litter.
So, you get an idea about what's going on. What I would say is this: look, if you want to get one of these, what I'm calling variants, exotic dogs, whatever you want to call them, make sure the dog's got good structure. That is it. Just make sure the structure.
Be patient and give it time.
Don't accept the dog that's got a big rope but it's got a tail and long legs. That is a mistake. That is absolutely a mistake. So, just there's in our book, there's nothing wrong with people messing around with trying to produce different looks in Frenchies, as long as the structure is there. When I say different looks, I'm talking about colours and fur lengths, but not. Yeah. Anyway, what else got down to this?
I don't know.
Before we start getting hate mail.
Yeah. Surely we won't.
We don't back away from hate.
Trying to cover our tracks.
Well, we don't back away from hate.
No.
We don't back away from it. We tell what we think is the truth. And look, hey, if you look at what we are interested in these days,
we like critiquing. We like being critiqued.
Yeah. Well, what was the first colour of the first dog we got?
Blue. Oh, the very first dog. We got a cream.
That's right. What was
second one was red.
It was red.
That was Little Man.
Yeah. What was the next dog we got?
We got Pieds.
What was the next dog we got? Tigra.
Well, yeah, Tigra. Oh, she was beautiful. Reverse brindle.
Yeah.
And then we got, after that was Lilacs.
Yeah, so blues, actually.
Well, blues, I said blues earlier.
Okay, right, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the dog here is chewing on my seat. Come in.
Blues was before the lilacs, yeah.
Yeah. But the point here is that, we are quite a ways away from the show ring, and the show ring is not... We have shown dogs, by the way, and it got to be a political issue really quickly and not something that we really enjoyed.
No.
And I think also... And again, I don't want to go get hate mail from people who are in the show ring because they've got their place.
Oh, yeah.
But they tend to be generally an older generation like us and a lot more stayed in their ways, unlike us. We're not stayed in our ways. So they didn't like change. They didn't like change at all.
We're open-minded.
Very open-minded.
Yeah.
I think that's something that you've got to watch.
And there's some show people that are very open-minded.
Absolutely, you bet. I mean, I think that one thing you have to think about your whole life is that, when you start thinking that the current generation are a bunch of idiots, you've got to love all people. And they've got their reasons for doing what they do. And it's probably, a lot of it is because you've not adapted with the times. You need to adapt with the times. And if you're doing dogs, by the way, you need to adapt with the times too.
The only thing that I know that a show person needs to be with the times, you know what I'm going to say.
No. Say it.
It's the way the women dress in those dog shows.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm sorry. Get you a pair of good old tennis shoes instead of those homely looking shoes.
I guess the argument is you're supposed to be looking at the dog, not the person.
I know,
but I agree with you.
You can't miss it because they're running right there with that dog, and you're like,
yeah, Yeah, I mean, here's
some
the
nice
thing. Look,
pants.
while we're on this, a little bit of bashing the show ring, I'm going to
know.
say this. No, I'm going to say this. There's one thing that does irk me when the show ring people say you should only be breeding fawns and brindles and creams, and yet they're quite happy with line and inbreeding. That's all part of their process, and that's a dangerous
Well,
thing.
when they want to get what they're
I know.
wanting to win.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
it's
I know,
all about winning.
But it's not.
But you got to be careful
Yeah, I know,
when you're
I know.
doing that
But
stuff.
they want to talk about that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't like people. Yeah. Anyway,
There's bashing on both sides.
absolutely. And I mean, look, everybody, everybody lives in a glass house, so you
Right.
shouldn't be chucking stones.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Right.
And it don't matter what you're doing in life, there's going to be a side to it that you're going to have a little bit of problems defending at times. And just be ethical about what you're doing. You know, people complain about, people say, they say things like, oh, you're a puppy mill. We are so far from a puppy mill, it's not even funny. I mean, here we go. Here's a puppy mill for you. This is a puppy mill. A puppy mill.
Going on a trip with
Puppy
us.
mill.
Go riding the new car.
That's right. A puppy mill. A puppy mill's got all their puppies. You're not a puppy mill, are you?
No,
You're just a
she
beautiful
did
dog.
not come from a puppy mill
No,
either.
Mo abused us.
Yeah.
And Mo, I think, produces quite a few dogs.
Yeah, he
But
does.
he really cares about his dogs like us. So he's following
So
up.
does Vincent. Vincent does fantastic too.
Yes.
That's
And here is a dog that can't be in the show ring, and she's not going to be quiet for me because I just disturbed her. She was asleep.
yeah.
This
You
is
messed
she
her
looks
sleep
huge
with
when
that.
she's close to the camera. She's not
Yeah.
huge. She's a really
She's my
cool
little
dog.
girl.
But she is a new shade fluffy, and I mean, this is so far
No,
from
she's a Rojo new shade,
Rojo new shade
fluffy,
fluffy. Yeah, this is so far from the show ring. Yeah, you go back down to that.
because of her color, her DNA.
Yeah, not a structure.
Yeah.
Structure's
Oh,
gorgeous.
no, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful dog.
Now you got her excited, James.
Okay, so there we go. There's our 2 cents worth. And again, look, I think the important thing here is have an open mind. Be careful about what you're doing. Be compassionate towards the dogs. Remember, they need to be treated, with respect. And
Get
they
that.
get to
No,
be, they get to be just wonderful members of your family, like this girl right here. Bye, buddy.